Hey aspiring or professional UX designers, welcome to my channel. My name's Jamie, I'm your online UX mentor. I'm here to leverage 2 master's degrees and 25 years of experience in the field to help you out. I'm diving into a series called What is UX Design to help folks understand the ins and outs of this fascinating and high-paying career. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts of this video. The best way, I think, to describe what UX design is to show you the negative effects of what happens when we see the absence of good UX design or any UX design. Now, in the UX field, at the time of making this video, we are mostly making website and app designs, but not all the time, okay? And we need to examine the aftermath of skipping the UX design process when it comes to a website and an app design. So in a report published by the Northern Arizona University, we saw 79% of customers bounce to another site if their expectations aren't met. So boom, gone. Mobile users are 5 times more likely to bail if a site isn't optimized for use on their phone or their mobile device. 52% of users avoid engaging with any company after they had a bad mobile experience. 88% of online customers won't return if they have a poor interaction with a particular site. So the consequences are clear and bad. Bad UX is driving customers away. So I want you to think of it this way. If you owned a pizza parlor and you had your life savings in this business, you noticed that up to 80% of your customers were walking in the door, looking around, and then turning around and walking right out. How would you feel about that? How long do you think you'd be in business? You would be frustrated and confused, and unfortunately, your business really wouldn't last long. However, this is exactly what's happening for apps and websites, folks, that have bad UX. And apps and websites are really just digital businesses after all. And let me say that the absence of UX design isn't just a business killer, which is bad enough. It can negatively impact and even cost lives. And this is even more tragic because in the following examples I'm going to show you, they could have been totally avoided if the designs and the designers had just followed UX doctrine. So let's dive into some real-world examples. March 28, 1979, 3 Mile Island. A nuclear incident was exacerbated by a poor human control interface design. It led to an almost complete and total reactor meltdown. So we're talking about the equivalent of a nuclear bomb here, folks. In the follow-up research, they realized that the control panels were really complex and they were really hard to figure out, especially in a high-stress situation when they started figuring out that this reactor was melting down. It was really hard to make decisions in the moment. Really, it was only averted in the last few minutes. So this was a case of the design being at fault, not the humans being at fault. June 19, 2016, Anton Yelchin. So this was a very tragic death of the actor who played Chekhov in the 2009 Star Trek reboot. Investigators stated that it appeared that Yelchin had exited his car and thought he hadn't parked. So he started walking behind it to open the gate. Apparently, either noticed or did not notice that the car was rolling down the driveway and crushed him in between the gate and his car. It was a result of this new kind of gear shift lever that did not match up to Yelchin's mental models that were aligned to how gear shift levers currently work. The lever itself would always be set into the neutral position and you were supposed to look at a little icon that told you what gear you were in. Well, we don't think that way, folks. We think park is up, reverse is behind, etc. So at a glance, when you look at it, he thought the thing was in park and it wasn't. Horrible tragedy that could have been avoided. Airplane accidents from many dates. Now, when I was a kid growing up, so I'm dating myself here, in the 80s and 70s, you would hear newscasters frequently talk about another commercial airline jet that had crashed. And you know what you always heard? Investigators put the blame on pilot error. Pilot error, pilot error, pilot error, pilot error. Well, you know, eventually they figured out that, hey, humans are going to be humans. Our brains are the way they're made. We are an evolutionary artifact and our brain is built the way it is. So what are you going to do? Blame humans forever? The dashboard of the airplanes were made by humans. So why don't these news anchors say investigators blamed the crash is on a confusing interface dashboard designed by such and such company. They never say that. They're always blaming the human. Not until they finally figured it out and made these things incredibly easy to understand, as easy as you would think. There's still airplane dashboards, so they're always going to be difficult, but easier to understand to avert all of these tragedies. These three examples are really underscoring the vital role user interface design has in ensuring safety and usability across all industries. Now, after I explain it this way, you would think that all companies would do this kind of work, right? Well, I am telling you, I am blown away every single day about how many things are made, ranging from appliances to apps to things like smart TVs. You name it. It seems like they've skipped this entire human-centered design UX process. In fact, just last week, let me grab this guy. I bought this little vacuum cleaner, okay, to pick up the crumbs from our drawers. So things like spices and crumbs from bread, they get into the drawers and they're not easy to get out. And I can't really pull these drawers out and flip them upside down. Unfortunately, I didn't read every single review, and it looked really nice, and the reviews overall were good, and the price was good. And it solved the problem for me because I had to get these crumbs out of the drawer somehow. But as I started using it, I found myself constantly accidentally turning it off. What is happening here? Well, you see where they put the button? See, I'm holding this. This is how you would normally hold this thing, okay? And where do they put the button? Right where my thumb is. So as I'm using it, I'm always constantly turning it on and off. It turns off. I'm not gonna turn it on because it's loud. So the designers put the on-off button right where you hold it. So you constantly accidentally turn it off as you're using it. It takes a lot of discipline to rotate it and keep your thumb off the thing. Here's the thing, folks, if they did just one usability test with a very low quality prototype, they could have made this thing out of clay or CNC machine or even cardboard and had people try to use it. They would have observed that people are accidentally turning it on and off. And it blows my mind how many companies skip this altogether. I mean, think about it for a second. Look at the cost in manufacturing this thing. First of all, they got to go to the manufacturer. They have to make molds of the thing. I know from previous experience, this could be up to $50,000 just to set up the machines to start building this thing. Then they have to manufacture hundreds of thousands of units. Then they have to ship hundreds of thousands of units. Then they have to hire people to build the Amazon reviews, design the packaging, and then ship it to thousands of homes throughout the world. And with all that effort, they didn't figure out to the last minute that thousands and thousands of people are wasting their time and getting frustrated and pissed off because they're accidentally turning this thing off all the time as they use it. All of this could have been averted with one simple, incredibly cheap $5 prototype and a round of usability testing with 5 people. Unbelievable. Sorry, I get a little fired up about this stuff. Okay, that was my rant about bad UX. Let's look on the brighter side for a second. Let's look at how profitable good UX can be. To do that, let's do a short walk down history lane to help me emphasize this point. The concept of UX design can really be traced all the way back to the 1940s because in this case, there was a world war going on. And if you can imagine any sort of confusion from the pilot who is in a dogfight or trying to do missions between the pilot and the controls, the joystick, what they're seeing, hey, this isn't just frustrating, this is a death sentence. So the science really started honing in on making these controls and interfaces intuitive for the pilot, almost an extension of themselves. However, it really started gaining significance in the 1990s because of what? The rise of the internet and the need for user-friendly websites. If you think about it, it all makes sense. I mean, think about Amazon, who pioneered e-commerce sales. They were a very small company at one point, right? All companies are. Eventually, they were able to calculate that any confusion in the online purchasing process was really hurting sales. I mean, if you had 1,000 people a day couldn't figure out how to buy their pair of Nikes, heck, that's costing you could be up to $1 million a day. And even if the site functionally worked in code, it didn't matter when it came to the brain figuring out what to do with it. That's what we do. At scale, Humans not knowing how to take action on any part of their site could be costing millions of dollars a day in abandoned carts, users not finding what they're looking for, or finding the information just too hard to ingest, so they simply just boom, hit the back button, and goodbye customer. Large companies like Amazon, Google, and Apple figured out that if their software was going to be used by millions of people a day, they needed specialty employees who know how to make things simple and useful. These specialists are called, you guessed it, UX designers. And with other companies wanting to emulate the success of Amazon and Google and Apple, a lot of other companies followed suit, and they are now hiring UX designers for their digital products. Throughout the decades, UX design has evolved really dramatically. In the early 2000s, it mostly focused on website design and usability. And as smartphones and apps gained in popularity, the concept expanded to mobile UX design and emphasizing on touch interactions and then responsive layouts, so working on multiple types of devices, right? By the mid-2010s, UX design became a critical factor in the success of products and services overall. The focus shifted to more holistic experiences, not just designing the app, considering not only the digital interface, but also customer support, brand identity, and even emotional connections, and brick and mortar locations. How do they play in to the use of the phone? Today, UX design has really permeated various industries. We're talking e-commerce to healthcare, to automotive, to entertainment, so from Tesla to Netflix, right? Its significance is undeniable in the age of technology, and user expectations are really higher than ever. We want things to be faster, we want things to be easier. So I just covered what bad UX design is and the ramifications of that, a bit of history, and then when UX is done well, the amazing benefits of that. When it's done well, it's actually a powder keg of profits. So let's talk about the profitability of good UX design. In a report by Adobe, we see that every dollar invested in UX design can yield up to $100 in return. Now, if you ever wondered why some people make so much more money than others, let the mystery be solved right here and right now, because companies are investing in UX designers like myself, like any other investment, and they want the most return out of said investment. So companies can reasonably expect that if they pay you $150,000 per year, and if you follow this statistic, then you're earning them $1.5 million per year. And that, my folks, is the secret of making more money. It all depends on how much profits you make for the company and the value you bring to the company. Here's another amazing statistic. Early investments in UX can save substantial costs. In an article published by Nielsen Norman Group, we see that fixing issues that are confusing after a product has been released is 100 times more expensive than fixing it when it's in an early prototype phase. Investing in the UX design early in the product development process can lead to substantial cost savings. UX helps you minimize these post-launch fixes so we can optimize our resources and allocate them effectively before anything is shipped out the door. Also, websites and applications that are designed really well require far less customer support. So these are people the company has to pay, call centers, for example. In fact, the Customer Contact Council reports that a 10% improvement in usability can reduce customer service costs by up to 33%. Now, if you're a large company, this could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even multiple millions of dollars. But also, good UX isn't just about avoiding losses. It is a profit explosion. Companies like Amazon, Google, and Apple, who are self-proclaimed pioneers in UX, and they have seen tremendous growth since their inception. Think about it. Investing in these companies over a decade has resulted in a 503% increase if you had invested in those companies. They have proved that improving customer experience overwhelmingly boosts profits, also brand loyalty and repeat business. So if you're wondering why UX pays so well, it's because companies recognize the immense value UX designers like myself are bringing to them. They understand that a skilled UX designer can significantly impact their bottom line and help them boost profits and become a better company to the world. Lastly, we gotta talk about disruption. Have you ever wondered how Uber decimated basically a 100-year-old taxi cab industry in 5 short years? As of January 2024, Uber has a market cap of 126.7 billion with a B as in boy dollars. This makes Uber the 106th most valuable company by market cap in the world. Here's how they did it. They reversed nearly every poor experience people were having with the taxi cab industry. Now, I did some research on this in grad school, and I also have a lot of personal experiences that marry up to this. People were dealing with grumpy drivers, awkward payment at the end of the trip. Should I tip you? Should I not? Drivers were running up the meter. You didn't know how long it would take for the taxi cab to show up if you called them. There was no way to complain if the driver was bad. Well, guess what? Uber reversed all that and they exploded because of it. They also turned everyday drivers who happen to have maybe an extra car sitting in their driveway or wanted to turn that into extra money, make a side hustle. So huge epic wins. That's how Uber did it. With Uber, you were able to what? Pay ahead of time. So no more running up the meter or no more awkward tip interaction. You were able to know if the driver was nice. You were able to know if the vehicle was clean. You were able to know when the vehicle was arriving by this really cool app that showed you where it was. This is an example of how profitable extreme utility can be and good UX. And at the point where you just needed to make it easy to use, they nailed that too. Netflix decimated Blockbuster doing this by following the same exact process. Nest decimated a 50 or 60-year-old thermostat industry by doing this. Spotify wiped out CD sales and practically the radio by doing this. So before we go, I just want to remind you that if you are a UX designer who is going to be designing an app or a website, or maybe you own an online business, you have to understand if it's clumsy to use or it just doesn't do what people need it to do, folks are just going to hit the back button in an instant and bye-bye customer, okay? You'll never see them. Maybe you see bounce rates on your dashboard and you may never know what's happening. But what is happening is folks are not creating online digital experiences that are easy to use and solve a problem for them. That is key. Okay, thanks for joining me today. My hypothesis here is that this video helped you understand what experience design is, aka UX, by using familiar concepts in a jargon-free zone. So if you found this information valuable, please just take 0.02 seconds to hit the like button. If you have any feedback for me on how to improve, I'm open to any suggestions you have. I'll even do some research for you if you put your thoughts in the comments, okay? Oh, this is very important. Be sure to download your free UX Starter Kit, which is a comprehensive guide to kickstart your journey in creating meaningful user experiences. The link's in the description below. Hey folks, let's elevate the world of design together so we can all live in a helpful, useful, easy to use world. And I will see you in the next video. This is Jamie, your online UX mentor, signing off until we see you next time.